Good afternoon, Campbell McCreary here, Amvest Capital in New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. Live webinar with South Atlantic Gold. South Atlantic trades on the venture as SAO, Sierra Alpha Oscar, and as JLRRF, Jack Lima Rio Foxtrot in the US. Do hope you enjoy today's program. It will also be available in replay mode. Feel free to chat in your questions in the question pane of GoToWebinar. Simply email them in. I'll try and ask questions in real time. Amvest is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource sector. And as always, this call is for informational purposes only. We have with us Doug Murray from the company, president and CEO and director. Brings over 15 years of experience in the management of publicly traded mining companies in Brazil and Canada. And he's had lots of positions as such, corporate director and country manager for Luna Gold, Equinox Gold, 6 years, as well as permanent and advisory positions with Troy Resources, Sarabi Gold, Jaguar Mining, Newcrest Mining, etc. It's also independent director of Gold Lion Explorations and a fellow of the Brazil-Canada Mining Chamber of Commerce. To be introduced later, we have their senior exploration geologist, Marcelo Bartolocci. So, Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Campbell. Thanks for having me here.
We got everything working here.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm Douglas. I'm the president and CEO of South Atlantic Gold. South Atlantic is a junior explorer company with assets here in Canada and in Brazil. There will be some forward-looking statements I'll be making on this presentation, so please do your research. So our company, we have inherited. So we started our company about, let's put it this way, about in October last year, and we took another company that was already listed on the stock exchange called Julian Resources, and that company already had an asset called the Big Kid. So Big Kid is in British Columbia, is a copper asset. It's about 4,000 hectares here. And we immediately put another asset into this company, which was called Pedra Branca. So Pedra Branca is our soon-to-be asset. It's a very large property. It's about 39,000 hectares. This is an agreement, a joint venture agreement we have with Jaguar Mining Inc., also on TSX listed company. And we're basically going through the steps of this earning agreement to achieve, probably achieve 100% by Q2 this year, 100% earning. So in one slide, I wanted to show you here what is South Atlantic Gold, why right now, why do you want to join this company, why it's so attractive. So first of all, I will be going through each one of these topics in detail going forward in the presentation. So, but in overall, starting with the stock price. I mean, our stock price is, if you look at today where we're sitting, is pretty much at a shell valuation. It's basically the same valuation that this company had before everything we did, the entire management change, directors change, cash, the finance that we've got, the phase 1 exploration for Pedra Branca. So we're sitting at exact prior valuation to all of that. So I cannot stress how attractive the price is right now. We have two projects in two very much debated metals these days: copper, which is the Big Kid project in British Columbia, and gold, which is the Pedra Branca project in Brazil. We also have a maiden resource that's coming now in the second quarter of 2021. So we're probably going to be we're probably the only company in the TSX venture that has a resource, 43-101 compliant resource out there with the current market cap that we have. The other thing that we have, which is the fourth pillar here and the final piece, is obviously management. So we have some really good and experienced people in our board. We have some really good management on the ground, people that have had a lot of success working in Brazil, working here in Canada. So, and I think the most important aspect to all of this is experience. So experience in building companies. So half of our board is comprised of entrepreneurs. So people that build companies up until a huge success. And I'll go into more details about it. And the other important aspect of this is it keeps us with a clear vision. So where do we want to get? Where do we want to be with this company? Which is, at the end of the day, is we want to push assets. We want to find assets in America, both Americas, and basically push them to a development stage and even mine them. So this is South Atlantic Gold. Now, as I said, our share profile here, if you look at the price that we have right now, is exactly the same price that we had prior to Pedra Branca and prior to anything else. So we got 59 million shares out, and we're trading at about 8.5 cents, 9 cents, and that's what we're doing right now. So it's really the same valuation that we had prior to the capital raise, prior to everything we did, prior to the joint venture with Jaguar Mining. That being said, one of the things I want to point out here is that on the last, let's say, 90 days, we traded over 15 million shares. Okay, so if you consider that we have 59 million shares out, we traded 15 million. That means that's 15 million people that bought our share at a very cheap price. But most importantly is why there was this change of hands. And from our analysis here, and I got this question a lot, but from our analysis here is really these are people that were the pre-shelf company, people that did not participate on the last financing, people that are not really into our vision, are not really understanding what we're doing. So this company was majorly owned by some Chinese investors. And right now that's been shifting hands, and we're having people that supports projects both in Brazil and here in Canada. So I think that our share base is getting more stable now. It's getting steady, and I think it's going to be a very good run for the remaining of this year. As I said before, in terms of management, I think this is one of the most important aspects of any business, if they are to succeed, is having people that went through some rough times and have really built companies. So I have been into some of the few most challenging mining projects in Brazil. I was even involved in the Serra Pelada project, and a lot of these projects that I got involved in the past, I'd say 90% of them are now operating mines. I mean, the last one I've been involved with was the restart of the Arizona mine with Equinox Gold, and I was there for over 6 years. The other mentions I want to bring here, starting with our board of directors, is Bruce. Bruce Hickson Smith is a mining engineer. And has about 40 years of experience. He's been CEO, he's been CFO. He was there on the initial days of Resource Capital Funds. So most of you should know who Resource Cap RCF is. And he is our chairman of the board. We also got Oliver. Oliver is a young geologist, but he's been actively involved in the BC exploration pretty much since 2010. So he's worked in a lot of projects around here, Nevada and Yukon as well. So he's our exploration geologist here on the board. We also have Mark Leduc, another mining engineer, and bonus, he's also a geologist. So he's got the 2 graduations there. And he has over 30 years of experience here. And he was also very successful in a lot of these companies before. You know, he was there with Luna Gold during the merger with Equinox. He was the CEO with Lithium. president and CEO of Bear Creek. So you can see that some of these companies right now are being very, very, very successful. Antenor Silva, well, Antenor Silva is also a mine engineer. He has over 50 years of experience. And one of the things that he did in his life, among building many companies and working in probably every single mining project in Brazil, is he co-founded Yamana Gold. So he co-founded Yamana, and he was there until 2015 when he retired. And when he retired, he was people wanted him on their board of directors, especially companies that are in Brazil. So he's very careful when selecting the groups and joining the companies that he thinks is going to be successful. So he joined our company. Like, we met in Brazil. We've been through some projects there. So a lot of them were really successful. So Antenor is basically brings this Brazil mining knowledge basis that we need in our company. We also have Nanmo. So Nanmo is a director that came with the previous company called Julian Resources. So Nanmo pretty much represents most of the Chinese investors that we have in our company. And surprisingly enough, people that support us from China, they're still there and they're still with Nanmo. So this is good. But now to the day-to-day operations. On the ground, we have Marcelo. Marcelo has worked in probably every single exploration project in Brazil. The reason I say this is a kind of a joke here, but he's been everywhere. So he's worked with some companies in Brazil that had unlimited budget, so you can, or virtually unlimited budget, so to speak. So he could really look and put some drills on the ground, pretty much every single heat spot in Brazil. So when I took Pedra Branca to him, he said, "Oh yeah, no, I've been there. I know where the project is. I know what's that about." So he took on the lead of the team on the ground, and he has done a tremendous job. We also have Therese Gieselman. Therese Gieselman was also a CFO that was with and still was with the previous company called Julian Resources. So she's still here with us, and she is also extremely experienced. So I would say that out of everybody that's here, I think I only beat Oliver in terms of experience, right? And the last person I want to bring attention here to is Ann Height. So Ann Height, I met her during the Luna Gold days. She's also been involved in investor relations for over 20 years. So she's worked for many companies in the past, and she has a lot of experience. So you can see that what we did here in South Atlantic Gold is basically I surrounded myself with people that were really successful and are very successful in their expertise areas. So that's how you really set up your future to building a successful company. Now, what we've done is we took this management, or let's take a step back here. We took this shelf company, it was called Julian Resources. We put a new management in there, and we started looking for a new project. And at the $5 million valuation, Canadian dollar valuation, there was only a few options that we could find that would be a nice fit in Brazil, and Pedra Branca was one of them. You know, like Jaguar Mining at the time, and they are still focused very much on their mining operations, and they have a lot of work to do there. So they decided to farm out Pedra Branca, and Pedra Branca is when we look at everything they did, we said, well, this makes a perfect sense for our company. Let's bring it in. So that was the time that we rebranded the company to South Atlantic Gold. We basically started with a new vision. We said, well, this is where we want to be. We want to be a company that finds these assets in both Americas, unlocks the value on them, and even push them through production, because we have that capacity. Different than many other explorers out there, we have the manpower to do that. We have the people, the leaders that can really push, and especially board of directors here that can really push that. But so that's our vision. when we really put our feet on the ground with Pedra Branca, that's when we decided to look at everything that was done in the past. We made a quick decision to say, wait, this was a very good work that Jaguar did in the past. So we decided to just validate the entire historical diamond drilling that they did, and we were able to validate 100% of that. The entire mineralized structure was validated. So if you consider what was on the 43-101 at the time when we acquired this project and the ounces that were there, everything's validated. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. And going into the future, and what we expect for this quarter is pretty much put this resource model out. So our exploration program is complete. We expect to have 100% earning of Pedra Branca. We are still going through the contract with Jaguar. So Jaguar has another 25 days to respond whether they're going to buy back 25% of Pedra Branca for $2.5 million US dollars, or they're just going to retain a royalty, or they just want to sell everything. So we're with discussions with Jaguar on that, and we should be publishing some news in the next few days here. And going further into this is another thing that happened recently, and something that we haven't considered, obviously, but again, being a dynamic company and be able to shift and adapt to the markets, is the copper price. So copper price these days is, as everyone knows, is looking really, really interesting. So we took another set of eyes into the Big Kid project, and we're actually looking into possibly do a raise there for and work on that area for the remaining of this year, because it's a copper project. It was very it was a project that was a bit neglected before. You know, the copper price wasn't there. So, but right now it has become much more attractive. Now, talking a little bit about Pedra Branca, okay, and going a little bit more into details here. We basically took a large land. This is a 39,000 hectares, okay, and within this land package, you have a shear zone of 40 kilometers, like continuous trend there. Okay, so 40 kilometers. I mean, this is like, how many mines can you fit here? I mean, I've worked in previous mines, and you can fit a lot of mines in this shear zone. And close to this area here, you got road access, so paved roads. You got one of those power lines that that go through the project. You got a lot of historical results here that we validated later on. And at the end of the day, this is obviously a lot to do with a mere $1 million US a budget. And looking at this slide here, and the reason why I want to bring a little bit of attention in this slide is really look at the figure on the left here. Those are all the tenements of Pedra Branca, okay? And that's the 40 kilometers basically extension that we have. So 39,000 hectares, that's what it is. So it's a lot of land to focus with just $1 million US dollars. We decided to put our efforts in the northern part of this region, so the region that Jaguar worked before, and basically we took advantage of a few things that we discovered later on. Is that 3 of these entire tenements actually have a mining or are under mining concession license, which is something really challenging to achieve in Brazil. But Pedra Branca has that. So in other words, for the Brazilian legislation, Pedra Branca has a pit design, has a 4-to-1 strip ratio there. You got the tailings dam facility, you got a plant, everything's designed, everything was reviewed by ANM, it was approved by ANM, and basically what Brazil agency wants us to do is start building and make it work. But obviously, we have to chase with the compliance report. We have to chase and advance Pedra Branca up into a level that it reaches where it actually is in Brazil, you know, where the permits are in Brazil. So our focus was really on the northern part, okay? Another thing I want to bring attention, and something that I got asked a lot before I go into more details, is what about the earn-in? What is the earn-in? Okay, so the earn-in agreement that we have with Jaguar is basically to spend $1 million on the ground, and that will get us to 75% of the project. If we deliver a 42101 compliant resource, okay, with no basis, or sorry, with no minimum basis there, just follow the legislation of 42101. So any type of license, you get to 100%. Now within that, Jaguar has the ability to buy back 25% at with 2.5 million US dollars. Okay, so that's where we are right now. So we already completed this project. We put out a lot of results. We certified historically everything that was done, and we are now working to deliver the 42101. So we are in these discussions with Jaguar, and we should be publishing some news in the very short time here. Now, I think it's important to bring what is the historical work, okay? Because this is where we based ourselves a lot to bring the resource of Pedra Branca. So there's about 9,000 meters of diamond drilling here, okay? So 2.8 kilometers of trenching done, and there was over 10,000 samples here. So we went through all of that. We recreated a database. We consolidated their old data with the new data that we've got, and we got to a point that in February we put out a press release. We say, hey, we validated everything that's there. Now, one of the things that I haven't, and because of compliance reasons, but one of the things that I want to bring attention here to is if you look at the resource that was there before all this validation, there was about 150,000 ounce reserve, okay, and an upside of I think it was a bit of a stretch with the data they have, but I think it's upwards of 600,000. So 150,000 ounces, if you consider that that's validated, so you can start getting the basis of just by looking what's out there, just by connecting the dots, you'll see that that's basically our start here for the new resource that we're going to put out, or the maiden resource for Pedra Branca. So when we started working in Pedra Branca, you can see like we only had $1 million US, and we had to focus, and again, being very efficient here with our money, we had to focus on the northern areas here, and the northern areas basically only had 3 main targets that they were defined by Jaguar. It was IGRgina, Quillesque Madness, and Mirador. Okay, so that's all they had. They had nothing else. Everything else that's here now are things that we added. So we actually identified new targets. But most importantly is that during the entire phase 1 exploration program, as we got results and also as we understood more and more the local geology, we realized that we're talking about 2 parallel trends that basically is following the same standards and following the same principles throughout the entire area. So, and we went as far as the Bombeiros target here, and we still could find the continuous mineralized zone. So this got us really excited about the project, and we said, okay, let's do some higher density drilling in some areas if we can. So we put some RC drills on the ground, and we were able to identify these pockets of possible mineralization and say, well, I think we can push for a very good resource here, or an interesting resource at this stage. So in a nutshell, when we consolidated this data for the northern part of Pedra Branca, we realized that, well, if our 42101 that comes out really proves that we got all these sparse deposits separated by 300, 400 meters, and the only reason why they're separated is because there's no drilling in between, it puts the company in probably the best phase ever, because On the phase 2 for Pedra Branca, all you have to do is infill drilling. So this is basically one of our key slides. This is a 25-kilometer trend. This basically summarizes what Pedra Branca looks like right now. So it's a really, really exciting project to be. So in overall, what we have in our database and what we're working with the resource is 200 holes, 20,000 meters, okay, in drilling, over 12 kilometers in trenches. Okay, so I like this one for the non-geologists out there. This is basically a drill hole, but done horizontally. Okay, so you understand what's on the surface, plus everything historical that was validated. So that's what we're working with right now. And going into a little bit more detail in some of these targets, and because of time, I don't have obviously much time to go. And I would love to talk here all day about it. Like there's a lot to talk, but this IGRgina, for example, this is a new target. This is a new discovery. So there is nothing here, and we just followed the trend. We followed what was on the surface, and we said there is something here. So we put a few holes there, and we got some very, very interesting results. So these are the first holes in this area, like the first holes ever. And you already got some of these results, like 5 grams per ton, like 7 grams per ton, 6 meters. And this is an RC drill. So what it means is we're looking at holes that the maximum depth that we could get was 60 meters, right? So, I mean, IGRgina, we were really excited when we put this information out there. We demonstrate to everyone, hey, there's a trench here that we did. There's the trench showed incredible results, like 31 grams per ton, 4 grams per ton, like 10 meters at 4 grams per ton. I mean, this is amazing for a trench. And we added that with the RC results. But again, this is a large area. Like if you look at this map, like we're talking here 1.2 kilometers here. So I mean, 1.2 kilometers is a whole mine. Okay, so if you consider other mines out there that are operating in Brazil, like this target alone could be and has a potential to be a whole mine. So, but then you look at the other target here, the one that Jaguar had defined before, Quillesque Madness. And Quillesque Madness, so you can see here the green dots, you have a lot of diamond drill holes that were done in the past. The red dots are the ones that we've made. And so you can see that what we tried to do is something, being very smart here with cash management, is try to follow the continuation of the trend, right? So but they're still very sparse. Like some of these holes here are 150 meters apart. So, and even one of them like over 300 meters apart. But you can see here, basically the two trends here, like in Quillesque Madness, it opens up to 3 trends. Like there's one main zone here, but effectively, what we noticed by consolidating the database is the deeper we went and the deeper we saw Jaguar holes, the greater the grade was. So the grade started to increase. Like you got here some grams, like from 46 meters, you got 7 grams per ton, and then you start to see this continuation, like 12 meters or 13 meters, and 6 meters of continuous and average good grades. So this really caught Jaguar's attention as well, because from their point of view and our point of view as well, is that there is a huge potential for underground here. But again, we need to dig, we need to drill deeper here. So much more than the 60 meters we did. So this is Quillesque Madness, okay? We did put some of these results out, okay? All of these is on our website, but you can see here that FCC, so all this FM and FC, this is all diamond drills, and you can see that the deeper they went, the average grade started to increase. I'm not going to go into every single one of them, but it shows you a snapshot of what we're talking about. Like you got even 13 grams there on the corner. And the RC, like the gram, like the grade of gold here, you can see it's a bit less in terms of trench and RC. So It's a very interesting average of 1.4 grams per ton throughout the targets here. So in terms of considering a possible open pit, it's something that obviously we're talking about it. So in overall, Pedra Branca, when we concluded our phase 1, we consolidated over 600 intercepts, okay, throughout this entire 12 kilometers zone here. So this is another phase 1 exploration consolidated map. You can see that you have all these pockets separated by the most amount of drills that we can make, the most amount of trenches that we can make in this area. We consolidated over 12 kilometers of trenches, and we basically got new targets discovered, which is IGRgina and Bombeiros. But that's basically to tell you that this entire zone is just a continuous average, same looks like the same trend here. So for phase 1, right now, and just to recap, we're looking to put this maiden resource out, okay? And as I said, where we're looking in Pedra Branca right now is towards the phase 2, okay? We can drill on that area all year round, as you can in northern Brazil areas. It's a semi-dry, arid region, so you can see from the picture here, that's what it looks like. It's very easily accessible, but I think one of the most important aspects of it is being on the exciting phase for an exploration project, being on that exciting phase where you're going to infill all these holes that we have, and you can quickly add up those ounces. So we're really excited about the phase 2 that's coming for Pedra Branca, and we're working on this resource. Once that's complete, we're going to have a solid plan on how we're going to proceed. Like we have to be very disciplined and very organized on how we approach things here. But it will give, I think, a very nice run for a phase 2 program that should last about 12 months here. So it's going to be 12 months of good results as soon as we complete the next financing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Big Kid. And Big Kid is a project that we haven't paid too much attention in the past, and the reason was obviously copper price. It was a project that we even considered farming out. I mean, actually, I'm receiving daily calls now about Big Kid, and people making me offers and looking to farm out. But you know, we do see the value in Big Kid, and we think that we should actually drill it ourselves and add more value to it. You know, copper projects right now are looking very interesting with the price of the copper. So Big Kid is being another project that, again, in comparison to Brazil, I mean, it's Canada, so it's much more easy to access, even compared to Pedra Branca. Like, you got the availability of work nearby, so it just helps us a lot. But in overall, Big Kid is about 4,000 hectares, okay? It's based on this central volcanic facets of the Nicola Group. So this basically hosts about a few important aspects for the one of you who doesn't know Big Kid. So there's a few mines that operates on this basically same host here. So you got Copper Mountain Mine, the Iron Mask, and basically the MPD Copper Gold Porphyry project. So with that and the results that we have from Big Kid, and then again, we're now having a second set of eyes in Big Kid. We're consolidating all the historical results that were done in the past, and we're looking at the proper program. So we should have that done in the next couple of weeks here. We're looking at some interesting results. So when you get things like 500 continuous meters, so 541 meters of 0.9% copper, and even 204 at 0.11% copper, I mean, these are very interesting results, okay? And we look at other historical data from some of these zones, like the Big Six zone here. There's some historical data available here that people that worked on this shaft basically got 44 tons of copper, basically 12% of copper. So, I mean, this is one of those, I'd say, artisanal mines from back in 1918 that it could be an untouched jewel from Canada. So there are very few left at this point, but I think we're sitting in one that's one of these untouched jewels here. So Big Kid is pretty much located close to Kelowna and very close to Merritt. So there are towns that already support some of the other mining activities around. You have very easy access to it. You can only you can work up until, I would say, end of November. So that's when it starts to you got this snow period here, and it starts to get a little bit rough, but that's what we expect to do here. So we're looking at our options, we're looking at our possible program here, and I think we can do something with Big Kid during this summer. Okay. Just another thing I want to highlight about Big Kid. So you can see here some of the historical data that we consolidated. So there's some really interesting results here. I mean, the more we look, the more we like Big Kid. So it's one of these projects that, in terms of, you're talking about copper, I think Big Kid still has something to show. And I think if you follow this region, look at our parent company that there's a company nearby here called Kodiak Copper. In Kodiak Copper, we've been looking at those results, and we noticed that the trend and the similarities with Big Kid, I mean, they're very close. So Kodiak Copper is 14 kilometers away from here, and really they've hit a huge discovery or a huge target there once they pass 600 meters depth. And if you look at our results here, we barely touched 600 meters, and actually that's when the results started to get really good. So we're excited about Big Kid, and I think this still is a story to tell here. Okay, so to summarize, Salt Lake Gold. I can't stress enough how attractive the entry point is right now. I mean, if you're investing in a company, if you're investing in gold and copper assets, this is where you want to go. This is where you can multiply your investment by many X. We're working, again, gold and copper projects, Brazil and Canada. We know how to work in Brazil. We got the permits, we got the license, we're ready to go. We're going to be one of the few resource companies out there with a maiden resource, really 4311 compliant with our current market cap. And our leadership pretty much speaks by themselves. So if you look at their successes, I mean, that's what it is. So thank you very much.
You were quite thorough, so appreciate it. And we're going to just jump in the Q&A. And what are the types of copper mineralization at Pedra Branca, and what are the estimated tons and average grade? If you could go over that again, it'd be helpful.
Sorry, did you mention copper?
Yes, copper mineralization at Pedra Branca.
No,
estimated
copper.
Tons and grade.
Yeah, no, Pedra Branca is really about gold. So copper is like the tests that we got for copper there, they're very, very low. So not even for a byproduct, I would say. But in terms of gold, the average grade that we're seeing is 1.4 grams per ton.
Okay, I've got another question that was sent in. What has been demonstrated at phase 1 drilling program in Brazil? Have you been satisfied with these results? What criteria did you use for success?
Very good question, actually. So when we started Pedra Branca, we actually were kind of a restraint here, because what we had to do for the company at the time was called Julian Resources, was a part and parcel financing. And in order to do that, you have to be very constrained about the cash and how you can apply that. So because the agreement was for $1 million US, we only had $1 million US. So we started in Pedra Branca, we say, well, we're going to look at this project, and I think we're going to earn in 175% of it. and hopefully we can find some really nice results, understand what type of licensing it has, and just go from there. So when we really started putting our feet in the ground and started working Pedra Branca, I mean, it was more than what we expected, because we not only were able to validate the historical results, we also added new targets, new discoveries. And not only that is, we made the decision that with the data that we have, we could push for a maiden resource. So we actually started with a very solid objective here, which is earning the 75%, organize the data, because $1 million is not much. So we said we're going to spend our time organizing that, put some more drill holes in the ground, all RC, do a bunch of trenches everywhere, organize the licensing here. So we did all of that, and I think it really surpassed our expectations. So there you go.
Okay, thank you. And before I pass the Stu, plans for a higher US listing, QB, QX, or anything?
Yes,
With maybe
we do.
letters that match your at least your company letters. Yeah.
Yes, we do. Again, with the budget that we had to be really, really efficient with it. And now with the phase 2 exploration, not only for Pedra Branca, but the phase 2 for Big Kid, there's going to be a chunk of that that's going to be used for marketing, corporate development, property listing, and organize that aspect of it. So again, I repeat, so the first raise that we had, we cannot use a single dollar of that for marketing. So just for everybody information. So
Okay. Anyway, excited to be one of the first groups to popularize you in the US. Stu, dive in.
Yeah, thanks that. Would you be looking at any other projects that come across your plate? And if so, is the focus Brazil, or do you still look back in Canada?
both. So obviously, because I'm Brazilian, I'm looking at a lot of these untouched projects in Brazil. It's easier for me to bring them. It's easier for me to deal with the artisanal miners there. So I've looked in the past 6 months here. I've looked over 40 different projects. Okay, I've been actively looking. Okay, there's 2 of them that I like a lot, but again, one of our limiting factors here is not people, is not actually looking and finding these projects, it's really our market cap. So I don't want to make a decision here that we bring a project that might look amazing, but you dilute everybody, right? And you just basically kill your shareholder base here. So we need to make sensible decisions and basically progress on the ladder here. Progress quickly, but progress on the ladder. So I'm looking to bring projects that are compatible with our market cap, and I think will add more and more value to South Atlantic Gold.
Gotcha. And then the question someone just sent in was, does having 3 mining concessions in Brazil shorten time to production, and if so, by how much?
Excuse me, I didn't understand the
Does
question.
having 3 the question someone just submitted, does having 3 mining concessions in Brazil shorten the timeline to production, and if so, how much versus a typical explorer?
It saves about 2 years. Okay, so okay, and I'm gonna use my forward-looking statement here. So if you look at Pedra Branca, if you conclude the next phase, okay, the next 12 months phase, the phase 2 exploration, that will be a lot of infill. And if we reach, let's say, 1 million ounces, that's when you start working on a PFS, okay? So you can get into a PFS stage quicker than many other explorers in Brazil, because you already have that basis for the license in Brazil. So you can actually use the 3 mining license there as the basis for all the other tenements. So you can actually do what we call in Brazil a conglomerate of tenements, and basically put them in a one big mining package or mining tenement here. So it saves us about 2 years. I mean, it's a huge thing. So yeah.
All right, thanks for that. I'll pass on to Adam.
Great, thanks, Stu. Regarding Pedra Branca, how deep, roughly how deep is the saprolite? And Doug, I apologize, maybe this is a question for Marcelo. How deep is the saprolite at Pedra Branca?
Okay, I can actually answer that, but Marcelo, please feel free. I know you like to talk a little bit about that, so please go ahead.
Marcelo, if you want to just unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can. Your webcam's
Yes.
not showing, but that's okay. We'll just move on.
It's almost nothing of saprolite. We are in a dry region of Brazil. If you look in this picture, you can see some outcrops. We have there, when we dig trenches, we started the drill holes in a little cap of 0.5 meters, 1 meters of soil and saprolite, and then we move directly to the oxide rock. Okay, and then maybe 15 to 20 meters is the weathering surface between sulfide rock and oxide rock. Okay, gotcha. And this area is very nice area to mapping, because there are almost outcrops in all the area. Okay.
Great, thank you, Marcelo. And so is the current resource or the resource that's coming out, is that going to be primarily an oxide resource?
We are preparing the mineral resources, and then we made this surface of oxide and fresh rock, and then we will report the mineral resource, both oxide and fresh rock ounces.
Yeah, so in average, just FYI, I mean, in average, our entire program was at a maximum depth of 60 meters. So really, it's this is really barely touching what Pedra Branca is. So.
So you were saying that the average grade at Pedra Branca is roughly 1.5 grams. Over what kind of average widths are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. We have been a study. Now we identified a geological threshold of mineralization, and not it's about 1.12, 0.13. Okay, but now for report this we are using 0.5 grams per ton as a cutoff grade. I don't like to say now cutoff grade is like threshold, because we have been working in mineral resources and it's not concluded. Okay, but this 1.5 is related about. The other thing that we are working, we have this that I know that I've been saying as low grade that define the continuous mineralization, but we are put some special points of high grade ore shoots that we are going to drill. We are going to study more this high grade ore shoots. We don't have the position exactly, because they are post-tectonic fold, and sometimes you can see interception lineation that we don't know if it's defined the ore shoots or not. If it is the plunge. Okay, we have a long way to identify. We are in the beginning. We made RC drill holes with 50 meters or 60 meters, and there are a lot of things to study. It's open the ore body in depth and along the trend.
So Doug, maybe a question for you. Strategically, are you guys going to really try to focus on the high grade zones, or perhaps instead focus on defining really a large tonnage of sort of the lower grade or the overall lower grade oxide that you could potentially mine open pit?
Your question is, are you going to work as an exploration geologist, or are you going to work as a mining geologist, right? That's your question here.
Well, the question is always, you want to explore with operations in your mind.
Exactly.
Could I answer?
Sure.
We
Yeah.
are by open pit. Okay, our first priority is the focused on open pit, but we are geologists and we will pursue it in a second priority, these high grade ore shoots, and locate some drill holes for underground. Our first priority is to define the open pit, not very high grade, not focusing on very high grade, but in mineralization.
Yeah, and effectively, Adam, to give more color here to your question is, it will depend on how much could we raise. Okay, so if we don't raise, it really depends on how much we're going to raise. Because if we don't raise enough, we're going to have to do, we're going to, again, to be very efficient and very smart with our cash. So all we're going to do is we're going to look at all these pockets here, or these mineralized zones, and say, well, let's drill around that and see if we can define a better pit in that area. But if we raise enough, then yes, I mean, we'll be doing the two things in parallel, because Pedra Branca, there's a lot to tell there, right? So I think we're going to be pursuing these ore shoots if we have enough money for it. Yeah.
On the surface, Doug, it sounds like you can really add a lot of tonnage, with the trenching, in between your known areas. And so it sounds to me on the surface, you could really add a lot of tonnage, very quickly, and get a lot from your money in that way.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we can't go into much detail behind that yet, because we haven't published the resource yet. But that's from previous results, that's what it looks like, right? So yeah.
Excellent. Let me pass it on to Erdi. Maybe he's got some questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a single question. Why did the Jaguar Mining's resource estimate was not compliant?
Because they didn't need to. So very good question, Erdi. So what Jaguar did in the past on this project is, if you look at Jaguar as a company, what they were doing is they were having issues with the 3 mining operations they have. So they actually had to shut down 1 mining operation, and they kept 2. They're still struggling with it. And basically in 2019, Jaguar was in dire straits. They actually were worth, I think their market cap was actually $20 million. So it was in a very bad situation. So they had to do something about their assets very quickly. So they divest everything. And actually this asset here went into another company's hand, which I can't, there's some privacy there involved, but it went to another public listed company's hand, and it was with them for a year, and they didn't do anything with Pedra Branca. So at the time, Jaguar looked at this and they just didn't have the time, and they still don't have the time for this. I mean, they have a lot of work to do in their current areas, and I think that they're also very focused. They're checking the right boxes here. So you can see that their market cap is now up around $500 million. So from 20 million to $500 million, I think it's a job well done there. So yeah.
Thank you. Campbell?
Sure. get one more question that's come in. You know, they always talk about social license and groups on the ground, that sort of thing. So, can you just talk about who you run into there, and any issues that social
Yeah.
license issues that you'll need to address? It's early,
Yeah.
but it should be on your list.
No, it is, and actually, I take that matter with great importance here, and it is a question that we always get, especially working in Brazil. But I mean, every mining company should pay a lot of attention to this. But when working in Brazil, and comes from experience, we know that if you do a few right things on the beginning, okay, if you start to tell your story right on the beginning, for all these small communities around, I mean, they're not so small. You got 120,000 people living around Pedra Branca. So you got, 30 kilometers north of Pedra Branca, you got a town there. 30 kilometers to east, you got another town. To the south, you got another town there. So between these three, you got 120,000 people living there. So, but they never really heard about mining, right? So we're there, we're telling the story, like they haven't even heard about the other company that's working there. So, so I think if we do some things right on the beginning, we're setting ourselves up for success, because we really already have a mining concession there. So we were under this mining concession. And that said, there is some work you got to do on the ground and to keep our licenses active. But it's so little work. It's what I said, like little things you do makes a huge difference. So right now, people are not even, they don't know what mining is. So we're teaching them the right things about mining. So it's a great opportunity for us.
Excellent. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and please send your feedback, share your feedback on your way out now or an email. Replay will be available at amvestcapital.com/webinars in about an hour. And I want to thank everyone for making it in the live and the replay. And you heard the story here first, so it's really exciting. This inflection point this time won't be here again. So looking forward, Doug and the team, for watching what you're uncovering here. So
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
being a native Brazilians makes it that much better. So you're not organizing this from Vancouver or
That's
Toronto.
true. That's
So
true.
right on the ground. So there's a lot. It's a lot. So with that, good evening, good night, and we'll
Thank you very
connect
much.
again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.